feeling really grateful. I moved to Orlando 4 years ago knowing no one. I called a friend from Orlando and said, "What do I do?" And she said, "There's this guy, Jay, who runs this reading series called There Will Be Words. Just go to that and meet him." And I did, and now I have all these friends. So that's awesome. That's literally exactly how it happened. And at that reading, I met Nathan Hollick, who I knew was going to be one of my colleagues at UCF. I had checked his MFA thesis out of the UCF library and read it. And then I met him at one of these functions. So it's really cool to read with him tonight. I'm also going to read something that was, in a weird way, inspired by Nathan. So one night, a year ago, I think a year ago, we might have been drinking. And there's this magazine, Press 53, does this short contest. And they ask you to write specifically on a topic. And I forget what the topic was, but somehow it got twisted, and Nathan suggested we both write the same version of the story, which would involve a character named Nathan getting punched in the face. And the winner was whoever could publish his story. And the magazine didn't publish either of us. I think the winner was Robert Boswell, which seems really unfair, because he's awesome. But I wound up publishing it a couple months ago in a little journal called the Chattahoochee Review that I really like. So I thought before I published it I would change the name to protect the innocent, but I didn't. So the story is called Nathan. But this Nathan is not that Nathan. Alright, unless you want it to be. Nathan. Most of us were getting sick of our friend Nathan. So we decided to throw a martini and punch Nathan in the face party. It would be like that show Mad Men, except also with punching Nathan in the face. Even Nathan's wife wanted in. The reason we were sick of Nathan was on account of how good his life was, and on account of how not so good the rest of our lives were. Things had a habit of landing in Nathan's lap. Example, Nathan had grown tired of selling his job, selling knives door to door. He wanted a desk job, something that paid well and kept him off his feet. He applied around our town and landed a 9-to-5er at 3 times his former salary, plus benefits, medical, 401k, stock options, fucking dental. Then Nathan wanted a kid, a boy, and wham, a son, just like that. The balls on this guy. The unmitigated efficiency. Finally, Nathan said, "I'm bored, I want a mistress." Again, not this Nathan. And with a snap of his fingers, or what seemed from this distance like a snap of the fingers, though surely there was more to it than that, Nathan hooked up with Ugly Larry's wife, Hot Tanya. Hooked up and continued to hook up for some time. They didn't broadcast this, but it's a small town. We all knew. It's just that no one did a thing about it. You kind of had to hand it to him. Nathan was a guy who knew what he wanted and knew how to get it. And as much as we wanted to hate Nathan more than anything, we were envious. Who among us didn't want a better job, a better life? Who among us didn't want Hot Tanya? So the good things kept happening. New car, new pool, new plasma TV. But not just possessions. Nathan was winning in the ethereal department too. Better disposition, better mood, sudden and lightning fast reflexes. At the YMCA, he bested us in half-court intramural basketball. And once, Nathan is said to have sunk 51 free throws in a row, which isn't to say that he missed at 52, but that after 51, he got bored and walked away. We started looking for the genie, for whatever magic lamp he'd been rubbing these past couple of decades, but there was no genie, no lamp. But the universe begs order. And short of discovering Nathan's secret, we wanted, at the very least, to see order restored. And since misfortune seemed unlikely to befall our lucky friend, we saw that restoring such order required we roll up our sleeves. Ugly Larry was the first to give this a try. He broke Nathan's arm. Nothing nuanced about it, just pulled a tire iron from his trunk, rang the doorbell, and when Nathan opened the door, Ugly Larry beat his arm with a tire iron until it was broken. We thought this would do the trick, maybe make it impossible for the man to play catch with his son. But in a twist of fate, the break healed in a way that turned Nathan's arm into a cannon. And suddenly, he was pitching for the major leagues. Now on the basketball court, you'd better believe he no longer stopped at 50. At the Y, no half-court intramural game could begin until everyone had watched Nathan sink 100 free throws, which, though he never missed a shot, still took a while given time for ball retrieval, etc., and the novelty of which wore off pretty goddamn fast. Though no one said a word about it on account of the tire iron and the plan to which we'd all been privy, and for which, through our envy, we felt a modicum of participatory guilt. Then Nathan won the lottery. And the guilt went away. It was Josh who came up with the idea for the face-punching party and Ted who brought the booze. The trick would be getting Nathan to go along with it. What able-bodied person of sound mind volunteered to be pummeled by wife and friends? Beyond Nathan's wife, beyond Ugly Larry, who among us had he wronged? We who knew him only from a distance, who knew him by his car in the driveway or the swing of his bat, the lacquer on that bat catching the stadium lights in a shine that shone like the face of God smiling down on American League East. Nathan owed us nothing. Yet, he owed us everything. In the end, he was cool about it. He didn't like the party idea, but he agreed to play along. Some say this was on account of Ugly Larry, of the guilt Nathan felt over word getting out of the affair. Some say he was an alcoholic who just that week was back off the wagon and might have agreed to anything. Before long, the big night had arrived. But there were rules. You got one punch. One punch per person, nothing in the crotch, no strikes to the windpipe. Face and gut were fair game. Nathan would be allowed to duck, to bob, and to weave, but he couldn't punch back, and he couldn't put up his dukes. If your punch landed, enjoy your moment in the sun. If you missed, no excuses, no do-overs, you had your chance. Nathan's wife got 3 punches. And while a few of us grumbled, most agreed this was fair, or at least ways fair enough, given that she was the one getting cheated on and all. Even Hot Tanya showed up to take her swing. Since joining the major leagues, Nathan had an out-of-town mistress with whom he'd been cheating on his hometown mistress. A move most of us found unbecoming and frankly a little tacky, seeing as how at away games, Nathan was more than Nathan. He did represent our town. So, the party started out slow. We assembled at the local tavern. Someone had strung up a banner that read, "Congratulations, Nathan." The bar was a calliope of martini glasses. Just getting a glass in everyone's hand took a while, and the tavern owner then gave a toast no one heard over Journey on the jukebox. And people soon set to work milling about Nathan without meeting his eye. A few guys shot pool. Hot Tanya and Nathan's wife, having through mutual scorn become friends or at least allies, shot darts. No one wanted to throw the first punch. For a while, we wondered whether it might not happen, whether the martini and punch Nathan in the face party might just turn into a martini party. Then Ugly Larry threw his punch. It had not been agreed to that Ugly Larry would even get a punch, but it hadn't been agreed to that he wouldn't. Except that Ugly Larry's fist missed Nathan's face. The fist was in the air, and then somehow it was punching the face of a man who was not Nathan. The face belonged to Ted. Ted, who'd provided the alcohol. Ted, who was such a stand-up guy, he hadn't even planned to cash in on his own punch. He'd been behind Nathan ready to catch him when Ugly Larry punched him. So when Nathan ducked, as was his inalienable right, as per the stipulations of the contracts we had all signed, owing to law enforcement not enforcing the law, when he ducked, Ugly Larry's fist rocketed past the place Nathan's head had been and into the face of poor, generous Ted. It was then we all ganged up on Nathan. He would outlast us, we thought, if we threw our punches one by one, like in those movies where ninjas inexplicably take turns getting run through by the samurai, rather than charging all at once. But even charging at once, would you believe not one punch landed? Not one. Punches flew skyward. They flew floorward. Punches found the wrong people's guts and the wrong people's faces. The action tumbled over a pool table and through the game of darts, and before long it was over. We were a mess. black-eyed and bruised. Josh had chipped a tooth on the pool ball. The bartender howled. A dart sunk to the fletching in the flesh of his arm. Someone's fist had gone through the jukebox and there was blood on the floor. But none of the blood was Nathan's. His fortune had held. He had yet to take a punch. Nathan's wife had one punch left, but she only shook her head. Near the men's room door, a dent in the drywall and the impression of a diamond marked the place her fists had missed his face. She cradled her hand and wept. She was done. There would be no retribution, no balance restored. Because maybe the world didn't work that way. Maybe there was no such thing as karma. Maybe sometimes good things happen to bad people, or not even bad people, but to the undeserving, certainly to them at least. Thinking this, we all felt unsettled. We drank our martinis and scratched our heads, and someone asked whether this was the end of it. Had every puncher been accounted for? Which was when I raised my hand. I'd had a feeling this would happen. A feeling it would go down just like this. And so I'd saved my punch for last. When my father, Nathan, saw me, his eyes widened. Fortune takes time to accumulate. Fury, too. The job, the car, the lotto, the major leagues, these took time. And in that time, I'd watched my father trade my mother for a pair of mistresses. I'd watched him trade our family for 162 days on the field. And if fury is a slow and twisting thing, it takes time for a person to get mad. And for me, it took 18 years. That fall, I'd leave town for school. It wasn't the college I'd hoped to get into, or my fallback. It was my safety school. A school so mediocre I'd applied only because I knew by now how things worked out for me. Again and again, I'd been cheated of the things I wanted, as though in any family there was a quota of luck and my father had sapped it all. I was done, off to school. I did not want to see my father again. Give them room, someone said. The crowd was quiet. I think some of them knew whose son I was, though if most didn't, who could blame them? To live in the shadow of a man like that is to abandon hope for an identity of your own. I watched my father. He looked sad. He looked suddenly and profoundly sad, like he'd take it back if he could. Like maybe given the choice, he'd trade it all. The house and the job, the women and the major leagues, the money and good moods and lightning-fast reflexes, and even the free throws, all 100 in a row. Trade it all for a chance. One chance. To try again without so much good fortune. For a chance to be a man like most men. A man who worked too hard and made too little. A man who didn't get most of what he wanted and had too few friends. A man who battled, say, prostate cancer at an early age, but who was, if nothing else, in spite of the work and the cancer, the misfortune and the grief, was, if nothing else, a man who had taken a day, one fucking day, to meet his son, to say hello, to show his boy the ways of the sometimes scary, often complicated world. The look on my father's face said he'd maybe trade it all for the chance to learn to love better and to be loved. Maybe. Son, my father said. But I didn't hear what came next. I threw my punch, and I didn't stop at one. Thank you.